Oops, I forgot to add myself to the stage. And happy Monday. It's hot, but it's all good, okay? So thank you for joining me tonight. And as always, don't forget to drop down in the box and tell me hello. I like it when y'all speak to me and they come back and tell me that somebody said hello. Don't just watch it, don't speak, okay? I always tell you that, your mama always say, don't come up in my house if you can't speak. And if you can't speak, then sit outside and then try it again, okay? So thank you for joining me tonight. I told you I ain't gonna keep you long, but we're gonna jump right into it, right? No, I take that back. So hopefully y'all day was good today. My day has been very long but productive. I mean, like I hit the ground gone running at 6:15. I mean, I've been very productive today, so I am so proud of myself because I have gotten a lot accomplished. I didn't lay around today like my normal Monday, but I got some things done and I am excited about that. I don't know, it's like July. We're in like a new season. Like I'm expecting some great things. I got some great projects going on. I'm just all around happy today, and I am glad because listen, this perimenopause, baby, she had you going through some things, and some days you just be like, I'm just gonna go back to bed and put a couple on my head. But this week I am pushing through that because we got to, okay? So if you watched our last week, you know that we talked about does serving in your singleness matters? And of course, the answer was absolutely yes. But you have to go back and watch last week's video to understand why, right? So I came up with so many different topics to talk about today, and I just was going back and forth on what should we talk about, Lord. And so I came up with one topic, but I probably would spin the block on the other ones and add them in as well. But for title's sake, the topic tonight is who you are becoming while you serve. Now, last week we talked about serving in your singleness and what does it do? What does it do, and how does it matter? Thank you for joining me, Kim. Hey, girl. Hey, good to see you tonight, this evening, rather. So we are still talking about serving because in our singleness, God requires us to do a lot of serving, but it's not for the reasons that we think, right? Because, like I said earlier, sometimes when you've been in church for a long time or, growing up in church, you are taught to serve, whether it's serving in church, serving your community, serving people, but you think it's just to be serving them just to be nice and to be kind. But I found out that's typically not what serving is. Serving is not just an assignment, it is a mirror. It shows you who you are and who you are becoming. It's also where God is refining what God is refining in you. Serving exposes your motives, your patience, your emotional triggers, your strengths, and your blind spots. It's not just about helping others, it is about discovering yourself. And, excuse me, I can tell you through this serving that I have discovered so much about myself and serving other people till it was just like mind blowing. And I didn't even realize it until, like I said, I started back journaling. So I've been writing some things in my book, and it had me reflecting on how I got here. And I thought my journey started in 2023 when I asked God for something specific. But when I started writing last week, I found out, no, baby, the journey started before that. And so what I realized is, so in 2022, I think it was September. I went to a conference in Atlanta. It was Bishop Jake's finale conference of Woman Thou Loose. I had never been to a conference before ever in my life. I know, right? No. And my mom and her friend, I was going to take them. And I had just quit my job. So they was like, they didn't know if I was still going to take them or not. But hey, I was going to still take them because I said I was going to take them, right? So we got to the conference. It was a lot of women. But my mom said this was nothing compared to what it normally looks like, right? So we got there. We had a good time. I was like, okay, it was really, really nice. But baby, on that last day, I don't know if y'all heard that song before where it says something got a hold of me that night. Well, something got a hold to me that evening on that last day, and it has been running ever since, right? So on the last day, if you, I'm sure you have seen because everybody's seen that when Bishop Jakes gave his daughter Sarah the mantle of the conference. And when I say it was women in there wailing and crying, and when he was saying that he was just not only giving her the mantle, but it was for every woman that's never been validated. It's for every woman whose father wasn't there, or you feel like you was left behind, or you feel like you was forgotten. And he just went on. And when I tell y'all, I cried from the pits of my stomach like I have never cried before. And I was just like, what is happening? I didn't understand what was happening to me. I tried to, hold it in the inside and, do that little cry where can't nobody hear you. But it just all came out of me. And my friend, she was trying to rub me in my back. But listen, I didn't know what was going on. And then my mom came over and she hugged me and she said, God told me to get you here. And I was like, what? So from that day, unlocked the version of me that I had never met before, right? And it started by just serving, like I said, my mom and her friend, taking them there to make sure they had hotel, rides, whatever. I was just going, I ain't gonna see y'all no story, just for the free trip. Everything was paid for, but I did not know that my life was going to change that way. And I have that serving is a mirror, not a stage. God uses service to show you where you need healing, where you need boundaries, and where you need maturity. I didn't know that I had so many unhealed places in my life until that where that moment started it. But I went to another conference with the Sarah Jakes when she evolved. And as she evolved, evolved. And like I said, I didn't know that I had so many places in me that needed healing because you think like I'm over 40, like I'm 46 years old, and you think that you done learned, all that you're gonna learn, you done grew all that you're gonna grow, but absolutely not. And one day I was like, I can't believe at this big age I am still learning stuff. I am still need healing from things. And it was things that I didn't think that I needed healing from, but I knew that if you have you ever known like there's something in you that you don't like, but you never knew why. So I'm learning that that's a part of what you need healing from, right? And so during this process, it showed me so much of myself that needed to be healed, and I thought I was good. And I was like, why am I going through this? What is happening? But as God was healing me, he started to heal me while serving other women, right? And so the more conference I started going to, not because I chose to go to them, because honestly, like I said, I've never been a conference person, but from 2022 up until 2025, someone has paid for me to go to the Woman Evolve conference every year. That's crazy, right? From Woman I Lose to Woman Evolve 22, 23, 24, and 25. Like somebody literally paid for me to go. They pay for my hotel, they pay for my ticket, they pay for my food. I mean, like it was like mind blowing. And I didn't realize at the time that the way it was happening is because God wanted me to go because there were things there that I needed and I needed to bring back to other women. And so even as the time goes on, people will say, "Well, I can't wait till you go to the conference so you can tell us what you learned." And I'm thinking to myself, "Huh?" Like it didn't register to me that God was using me to go and get what I needed and to learn what I needed to be healed from so that I can help other women. And as he was healing me and stretching me and I was serving these women. The same women who I've been known for years didn't know what their situation was. And I didn't have the wisdom until I started going to the conferences. And now I'm able to serve them in a different capacity. So the serving, it made me become a totally different person than I was used to. It stepped me up, it stretched me, it pruned me, it had me looking at life totally different. Because we're all supposed to serve, but serving is about who you are becoming while you serve. Now, sometimes we just start out serving just because we know we're supposed to do it. But if serving is not changing you and transforming you, you're doing something wrong, okay? So we're going to get a little bit more into that because I just told you what serving is a mirror of. So even in your singleness makes the becoming clearer because we don't have as many relational distractions. You can actually see what God is pruning, what He is strengthening, what He is calling for, and what He's maturing. And how about this? Even while I was going through this process and healing and serving other women, guess what? The most of the women that I was serving were married. And so I was like, Lord, how am I gonna tell these women something that I ain't married, but they married, so how am I gonna tell them something? And I was sitting there having a conversation with my aunt, and she was like, the reason why is because God is using you because you're single. You're able to hear Him in a way that other women, especially women that are married, cannot hear Him because they're already connected. So He's using you because you are available and you don't have the distractions to learn these things and help them even though they are already in their marriage. And I was like, what? Because I was wondering, why are these married women, talking to me? Why am I giving them advice? Because, I don't feel qualified, which I ain't qualified, but He qualifies the call, right? So it wasn't that Dina was going in on her own. I was just letting the Lord use me and giving them what He was saying. And it was so crazy that He was using me, using things like Christmas movies, just random stuff because I always had a vendetta against Christmas movies, right? Until recently. Like I hated Christmas movies because every Christmas movie always had what? A woman meeting a man, they falling in love for the holidays and they getting married. And that had never been my story. So I was like, they lying, they just making up stuff. And that's not my reality. So I hated watching Christmas movies. But the Lord know how to get you right. So baby, He started putting me on. I had COVID or something, and I was stuck at home and watching Christmas movie. Every Christmas movie that He showed me was a message in it. And it was sometime somebody would call me, and it would be the movie I just watched would be their situation. I'm like, really, God? You really listen, Lord. You really that what we gonna do? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna make a believer out of you or whatever. And so, like I said, this serving them has made me see things in a different light. It has shown me places that I still needed healing from, which is past traumas from childhood that I never knew why. Even from having sitting down conversations with my parents, because one time I was out of town and the girl told me, she was like, if you would have the conversation with your mom, forgive your mom, then your season of marriage will come sooner. I had never met that girl before in my life. We were all sitting in the lobby of the hotel after the conference doing a recap in a pajama party. But I knew exactly what she was saying. And so you know what I did, honey? When I got back in town, I went to work that Monday. And as soon as I got off work, I took my tail right to my parents' house and I sat down. But no, before I sat down and I pulled up, my mama was outside and she was like, you came to see me? I said, yes. She said, the Holy Ghost already told me you was coming. I said, okay. So we went down in the house, and this was my first time as an adult sitting down having conversations with my parents about things that I felt that I didn't understand why. And they broke it down and gave me an explanation to why I felt this way. And I was like, oh my God, all these years I never knew that. I just thought that, I did this because of this. But there's always a why to what we do. We just have to search the why. And sometimes it ain't us that searches it, it's God that puts us in position to search it. Like I said, it is a mirror of yourself. So what the mirror does is what? Show you yourself. Show you what needs to be pruned, what needs to be shaped, what boundaries you need. Like it showed me so much. So I never knew that serving other people would make me to be a better person. Like compassion. Well, I've always been a compassionate person. I've always, been a people person, but not to this level. And I remember one day I was watching Bishop Brunner, and he was saying that God will give you empathy for people so that he can, when he puts you in leadership, you can feel what they feeling. And I was like, The very next day, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she was talking about a situation that she was going through, and it was so heavy on her because she had been holding it to herself for months. Excuse me. And when she told me about it, like I felt all the pain that she felt. And the very next day, the same thing that had happened to her had happened to me. And I feel like God was saying, okay, now let's see if you take your own advice. You just told her what she did. You told her there was nothing that she did wrong, that she was going a part of my plan. This was something that I was working in her. All that stuff you told her, let's see if it works for you. Y'all, that was a hard test because I was just crying and I was like, Lord, like, did it transfer to me? Like, what is happening here? But he said, that's how you served her. You served her well. You did what you were supposed to do. You told her what she was supposed to hear. Now I want you to do the same thing because it's still a mirror reflecting you and her, right? So, oh Lord, let me tell you something. I have learned a whole lot. And it says the internal work that God does when you serve. While you serve, God is quiet. He's refining your character. He's stretching your capacity. He's maturing your emotions. He's deepening your compassion. He's shaping your discernment. And he's strengthening your identity. You think that you are just volunteering, but God is really building. He's building a person in you that you didn't even know existed, right? And that person is for the future, your new season, the leadership that he's putting you in, the places he's sending you to, the jobs that he's opening up for you. Everything has a process to it. And just through our singleness and serving, that is a part of our process, right? So here are my three reflection questions, as always. Number one is, who am I becoming through the way that I serve? And so my answer was a woman whose capacity, character, and calling are expanding at the same time. That's a lot, y'all. My second one is, how has my singleness shaped the way I show up in ministry? It has shaped my posture, my sensitivity, and my leadership style, and the way I carry people, because it is a blessing and it is of God to steward people. Because anytime you're in leadership and anytime you are serving people, you are stewarding God's people, and you have to do it with grace and a posture that is pleasing to God and that will glorify God. You can't be around here serving people being nasty, having an attitude, or doing it just because, frowned up on your face. This is not the way we serve. We serve as unto the Lord, right? And the last one is, what fruit do I see in my life because of my serving? I see a lot of fruit. I see doors opening. I see connections happening. I see platforms that I've never even thought about being on. People calling, asking, can I take you to lunch? I just want to sit down and have a conversation with you and see what you think about this. Or how is it that you was able to move this kind of way or leave this job that you have been at for years, or be able to hear God to move from this church because I feel like I'm stuck, or like, and I'm like mind blowing. Like, you want to take me out to lunch just to sit down and have a conversation with me? And even I have a client who has become one of my great friends. And we went to lunch a couple of weeks ago. And she texts me all the time and tells me, thank you for being a great mentor. And I was like, she considered me a mentor? Of course, she's older than me. She's all the things that I'm not, but I just felt honored and graced that she would even consider and feel like that I have been a mentor for her because I'm only just showing up as God has me to show up. When He had me to pray for, I pray for her. I pray with her and invite her to church because we all have the same end goal, right? Our process may be different, our journey may be different, but all of us are charged with the same thing, that is to draw other people to Christ and that God gets the glory out of it. However you get there, however God takes you to get there, that's what you're still supposed to do. It may look different from how I'm doing it, but you still have to go through it, and that's what you're being charged for. Kim says that goes to say we go through things to help or direct others. That is absolutely right, Kim. Because you know, a lot of times they say you don't go through things for yourself, you go through it for other people. And I ain't gonna tell you no story. I was like, well, why they can't go through it for themselves, honey? Because I'm tired. Like, why I got to go through all this stuff? But it has, like I said, shaped me into being able to serve other women because women have always been my ministry. It's like I always run into the single women. I always run into the same, no matter where I am, I'm always drawn to the single women. And I feel like this y'all got me single this long because God still got me connected to y'all. I'm just playing, I'm for real. But it's a journey, you know what I'm saying, to get there. It ain't always easy. And we were having a conversation in a beauty shop last, I think Saturday, with some of my clients, and the lady was saying that she wished her niece was married. She's like, she's a nice lady and she don't have any kids. She's never been married. And I said, well, I've learned that the higher your standards are, and not even that you have high standards, the the greater the value you have, the smaller your pool shrinks of available guys. And that's just honest. Like it is way more single women than it is single men. And the single women are all they most of them are established. They have good things going for themselves. They're living a best life. But it's like they all missing that one thing that they sometimes they desire, sometimes they don't. And I actually sat back and prayed, and I was like, because Lord, you're gonna have to help me with this. Because you know how we always say, well, you know, the Lord gonna send you somebody, He's making somebody, and all the good things that we tell the women while they're in waiting. But reality is, God is gonna have to bring some of these men back on His own. He's gonna have to develop them, just like He's developing us, pruning them, stretching their capacity to be able to be in their rightful place. But I did hear, I don't know who that was I was listening to earlier this year, that he was saying that God was doing it. He was bringing the men back, putting them in their rightful places as the head and to steward those women that are available and desire their right. So even though it may not look like it, y'all, we gotta still keep trusting God to know that if He gave you the desire to be married, He's gonna fulfill that desire. Now, where He gonna send it from or where He gonna make it from, we don't have a clue. All I can do and all we can do is just say, God, I thank you that it was worth the wait, right? So that's all I got for y'all tonight. Continue to wait well, continue to trust the process because the process may get long, it may get weary, and sometimes you just can't see your way through, but just keep pressing and know that God is able to do what He said He was going to do because He's not a man that He should lie. If He said it, believe me, He gonna do it. And so you know, I always got my closing prayer for y'all. Let's see. My closing prayer is God, thank you for the privilege of serving. Thank you for the way you use service to shape us, refine us, and mature us. Tonight, help us pay attention to who we are becoming while we serve. Purify our motives, strengthen our identity, and align our hearts with your purpose. Let our service be a place of transformation, not performance. And let who we are becoming bring you glory. Until next time, have a good evening. Keep serving and keep waiting well.